Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Max Holloway will be fighting Charles Oliveira for the BMF title next weekend, and I thought this would be a great time to break down his two fights against Dustin Poirier, as, in my opinion, it gives a clear baseline to see how Max Holloway has evolved in the 155 division compared to his 145 self. I will be breaking down only the second and third fight because the first fight, it was teenager Dustin Poirier versus tadpole Max Holloway, and there is not really that much to analyze there. So we will be seeing how he has evolved between the second and the third fight. But before we go into the technical changes that Max Holloway has done in the third fight, we do have to talk about the elephant in the room, which is they never really fought each other at their physical prime. In my opinion, this was Dustin Poirier. This till the Charles Oliveira fight was Dustin in his prime. He still had mobility, he still was fast, he was strong, was powerful. He was also bigger in my opinion. I think he was much bigger here than he was when he faced Max Holloway the third time. And it was the exact opposite for Max Holloway. While he was still had the skills of Max Holloway himself has said that he was just bloated when he faced Dustin Poirier the second time. A lot of it was just the water and the flaps. He just didn't have to cut a lot of weight. But compare this to this self, you can see the muscle definition. He has clearly put on muscle, his legs were stronger, he was more powerful while still having the skill set from the 145 and also being quite fast for 155. I really wish there was a time somewhere in between where this version of Dustin Poirier and this version of Max Holloway could have faced, and we could have clearly seen who was the better fighter. But it is what it is. Bad hips, bad knees. He was also injured in the Islam fight, if I remember it. But we do have to still consider that this does have some effect on the fight's outcome. But then going into the fight itself, another difference was the forward pressure. In the second fight, Max Holloway was constantly going forward, pressuring Dustin Poirier. And Dustin Poirier is at his best when he is countering people. Almost all of his finishes came from countering fighters. Like there are so many examples of Benoit Saint Denis, Michael Chandler, where he dropped him, Justin Gaethje the first fight, Eddie Alvarez. Every fight you can, Conor McGregor. Almost a lot of his fight, the success really came from him being in the back foot and countering fighters. And this went really well in the first fight. While in the second fight, Max Holloway was fine with fighting on the back foot. He was not really letting Dustin Poirier completely pressure him to the cage, but he was also in no urgency to go forward. The second fight, he was just using a lot of elusive footwork to go side to side, crack Dustin Poirier with a couple of shots, and then he will constantly be moving. And this made Dustin Poirier hard to find his shots. He could not really find his left hand. He was also really not using that many kicks in the third fight compared to the second fight. In the second fight, he was immediately landing combos where he goes up with 1-2 or 2-1 and then finish it with a leg kick. But in the third fight, we were not really seeing it. And a lot of it comes down to Max Holloway being elusive and finding his moments. Another difference is Max Holloway's understanding of Dustin Poirier's defense. Dustin Poirier is very famous for his, the people call it so many different names, but there's the crosswall, the shell defense. But there is the famous clip from the second fight where Max Holloway, in between the rounds, I think it was between 3 and 4, where he was telling his corner that he is just blocking weird. because in the second fight he had a hard time finding the shots on Dustin Poirier, and was landing a lot of his shots on Dustin's forearms, on the elbows, and on the forehead of Dustin Poirier, which is probably not the best place to land your punches. But he didn't really understand Dustin Poirier's defense in the second fight, and the experience from this fight gave Max Holloway the knowledge on what he needs to do. And the third fight, he was constantly finding the shots on Dustin Poirier clean. The guard is really good for headshots, but there is a small opening here, and if you're not being too loopy, you can find it clean on Dustin Poirier, and that's what Max Holloway did. He was not throwing a lot of loopy shots. He kept everything tight. He was doing the Volkanovski combo. I mean, just starting with the right hand and then going with the left jab or left hook, and was finding shots clean on Dustin Poirier. So this is not really the only opening that you can find on this card. As I said, this card is pretty good when you wanna defend the headshots, defend against headshots. But this card still has its other flaws. While I was looking for this images of Dustin Poirier's guard, I found another fighter who uses it sometimes, which is Leon Edwards, and I remember laughing at it, thinking, bro thinks he's Dustin Poirier. So Leon really did this against the cage, and as you can see, there is a huge opening for the uppercut, and Belal easily lands the uppercut clean, rocks Leon, goes down, shoots a takedown, takes him down, and then beats him up further. And this shows, but Dustin Poirier is not really as open as Leon is much more tight with it, with his guard. But I don't want to shit on Leon on this video, but thought this is a better image to show you where the openings are. As you see, the body is completely open, and if you are not against the cage and out in the middle, the legs are also there to be kicked. Max Holloway doesn't really use that many leg kicks against a lot of his fighters. He does do a little bit of knee stomps here and there, and then he will throw some leg kicks. But with the one of the major difference that Max Holloway did in this fight is going to the body. In the third fight, he immediately started going to the body. He landed so many good shots on the body. And Dustin Poirier has always been open to the body. This is so open that Michael Chandler was landing a lot of shots. I think before the headbutt against Dustin Poirier, the 1D shots, I remember Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler landing was to the body. But again, going back to the third fight, as I said, he immediately went to the body. He was landing jabs. He was going with the right hand. One of the really good thing that Max Holloway was doing is using his right leg to go for the body kicks. He landed it so many times, and this both on the offense but also as a counter. There is an example here where he was going on the offense but also as a counter. Like here, you can see Dustin Poirier going with the jab, and then Max Holloway pulling himself back while throwing the right leg kick, landing it clean. Not that many people really do this against Dustin Poirier, but Max Holloway utilized it really well because you need to have really good timing to counter it. Another big change is countering the switch. Dustin Poirier is famous for his switch combo where he starts with the left hand with the straight, and then he will double it up with a jab or maybe a feint most of the times, and then comes up with the right hand. He has landed it against almost all of his opponents. He did it against Max Holloway in the second fight. He even landed it on Khabib. And in the second fight, Max Holloway's defense to the switch was only to go back straight. But this is a bit problematic because Dustin Poirier covers a lot of distance when he does the switch. So even though Max Holloway was pulling back straight, Dustin Poirier was still able to reach and land clean and was able to hurt Max Holloway. But there are ways to defend against the switch. Like Dan Hooker, for example, was just constantly interrupting here itself, where before the throw comes, he will immediately put on a jab here, and then this will interrupt Dustin Poirier from going fully into the combo. But coming into the third fight, Max Holloway had two answers to it. One of them is the body kick that I said before. He was using it really well, and he was using it against the counter. So as I said, the Dustin Poirier starts the combo with the left hand. So whether he is going to switch or he is just going for the single shot, this is gonna be effective. Where Max Holloway simply pulls back slightly and then going for the body, because not only this will interrupt him, but also it will make him go off balance. Another counter that Max Holloway was doing was when Dustin Poirier was able to finally get into the orthodox stance. He simply ducked, and then so that Dustin Poirier's right hand was missing, and then countering it by coming up with the overhand. And he caught him multiple times in this fight with this. Because Max Holloway was countering so much in this fight, Dustin Poirier started second guessing himself, and this is what led to him being hurt in the second round. But the second round, this happened because of the constant countering from Max Holloway, where Dustin Poirier tried to do a stance switch and then coming up with the right hand, and Max Holloway, whether he thought Dustin Poirier was coming up for a leg kick or he was just trying to do a front deep or a knee stomp, he was just picking up his leg, and this stopped Dustin Poirier for a split second. And Max Holloway used this time to punish Dustin Poirier with a 3-punch combo and hurt him really bad. But countering the switch did not always work, because he did still get hurt by Dustin Poirier in the second round, and very badly hurt actually. This happened because Dustin Poirier also made a small adjustment, which I really have never seen from Dustin Poirier with this combo, where he goes with the left hand first, left straight first, and then instead of doing a jab or a feint, this time he used an uppercut, and Max Holloway was trying to counter Dustin Poirier. So in order to do it, Max Holloway was ducking a lot, and this time when Dustin Poirier threw the left hand, he didn't double it up with a jab, but instead he threw an uppercut, which brought Max Holloway's head again to the level where Dustin Poirier's right hand can land, and he clipped him to the back of the ear really bad and dropped Max Holloway. So yes, as dominant of a fight Max Holloway did have against Dustin Poirier, I don't think it was flawless, because there are still mistakes he made, and Dustin Poirier was able to find shots on him. But I'm mentioning this because you can make mistakes against certain fighters. But making a mistake against Charles Oliveira is lethal. So Max Holloway do need to be fully locked in, not making any mistakes against Charles Oliveira. With that said, I don't really like the chances of Charles Oliveira in the fight, and I will be making a breakdown of that fight next week. He's extremely fast, and he is very skilled, elusive, but more on this will be made on the video from next week. So if you like this video on the breakdown, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in another video.